Film Diet Podcast.
And then it was just sequel after sequel after sequel.
There was no character development at all.
Just that on pure technical levels.
There are filmmakers that don't want it just to be an entertainment experience. Hello and welcome to Media Academy Online's Film Diet Podcast. And today we're talking about Super 8.
J.J. Abrams.
Mm-hmm.
E.T. ripoff.
Yeah. It was a new sort of take on the whole sci-fi, alien...
80s
vibe. It was very inspired. This was probably the very first attempt at creating a film that is highly influenced by the 80s style.
Yeah, either influenced or ripping off.
Glass half full, glass half empty.
Yeah. Let me just start off by saying, I don't want to be too confident saying it's the first 80s thing, but it seemed like it was one of the first major blockbustery kind of ones that came out in recent times.
It opened the trend for it.
Yeah.
Well, it was, or following the trends.
Yeah. Well, J.J. Abrams, he directed Star Trek. He came out. He did Lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
He did TV shows. Came from that background.
Yeah.
Then went and I think he did Mission Impossible 3.
Mm-hmm.
Or 4. Or was it 3? Yeah, he did Mission Impossible 3. So that was like his franchise takeover there, where he took over a franchise, rebooted it, refreshed it, rejuvenated it.
Yeah.
And it made money. And then he got picked up for Star Trek. Did that in 2009.
Yeah.
Big success. And then kind of went back and did a more personal film. His kind of Spielberg take on E.T. sort of thing that he was influenced by. And... and then went on to do Star Trek after that. So this was kind of like in between.
Yeah, this is the first time that I took notice of him and his style. I sort of followed him since. It was cool that Steven Spielberg produced this. Someone that's been very influenced in his own films and makes this kind of style. This is almost like a
love letter.
A love letter.
Yeah.
Since it's been produced by Steven Spielberg, it sort of allows you to play in that kind of sandpit, if you will.
Yeah, like I immediately thought this was going to be like an ongoing partnership with these two.
Yeah.
I thought they were probably going to do more projects together. It just felt like he was like his pupil, like a new version of Robert Zemeckis or one of those guys that were coming out and continuing on that Spielberg flavour. And, which he has done for the most part. Like he's gone and done Star Wars. So he has kept within that realm with those guys, but unfortunately he just doesn't really have much fresh ideas, I think. He's good in ways, but ultimately he's not a innovator. He's good at carrying on trends and carrying on what these innovators had sort of laid down the building blocks for, which is he's kind of taken and done his mystery box versions of them.
Yeah.
And, like it or hate it, I'm kind of in the middle. I like and hate what he does.
Well, yeah, you're right. He's very solid with existing IP, and that's really all he's done in the latter sort of years. Is really just focusing on franchises that already exist: Star Trek, Star Wars, all the stars. Sort of following on him with that stuff, which I don't know. He's got people that hate him. He's got people that love him.
Yeah.
Very fine line.
It's really hard because like you got newer audiences, obviously probably new kids and stuff, people coming up in new generations that would watch his films and think he's right up there. Then you got us older guys that grew up with the older stuff watching his new stuff, just going, it's not really that innovative or original. It's all kind of copying what's already been done before, with a new coat of paint, so to speak. But it's kind of frustrating because he has the ability to do some really cool, energetic. It has a very energetic sort of vibe to his stuff. I love the way he can kind of weave in action and dialogue and people running and talking, and he can do that really well, and he can also do that really bad. So he always hits good stuff and bad stuff for me, like good notes and bad notes. So he's a mixed bag for me. And this film is probably the better one because it's not Star Trek and it's not Star Wars, so I'm not comparing it to a monster existing franchise. It's kind of like we said, a love letter to E.T. and a few, like Goonies, I think, and things like Stand By Me. I think, just the whole idea of kids with backpacks and going on an adventure and solving shit and
This really felt like it sort of paved the way for this kind of storytelling. And if we start at this point where we just explain, I guess, the story, we're following a group of school kids, all friends from school. There's a guy that's really passionate about film, which is really cool because they're using the old style film, using actual film strips, where the name comes from, Super 8, which was a old type of camera, which was 8mm camera that was effectively the old version of, a handy cam idea.
Yeah.
Having a camcorder, which is a Super 8, where you'd go and get this relatively cheap film, chuck it in the Super 8 camera, and off you go.
And it kind of, once again, it links back to Spielberg because that's what he started on.
Mm-hmm.
That's what his father gave him, and that's what he started on filming with.
Yeah,
so once again, it felt like a love letter to that idea, and I think JJ probably did the same thing. If I remember correctly, I think he had sort of a very similar beginning.
So it's a very interesting, because it does start off very focused on the drama aspect of it and the story aspect, and there really is no, I guess if you didn't know the story, it doesn't really hint to this being a larger sci-fi story up until all of a sudden they're filming something and boom, it all begins.
Yeah, it's got that awesome moment, the train crash.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of I suppose, spoilers. If you haven't seen Super 8, we're probably going to go into spoiler territory throughout here and there, so sorry about that. But yeah, there's an awesome CGI train crash, that sort of just, I don't know, that really kickstarts the film.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like, the mystery begins, and you're wondering where this story's going to go and how it's going to unravel.
Yeah, which I really liked how they spent time at the beginning to explain to the audience the characters so that we could understand them and why we should be rooting for them. And it really did sort of explain that element really well.
Pretty well. I think that's, if not, I think that whole start part to that train crash and probably a little bit after that's the strongest part of the film for me. Yeah. Because I'm always like, that's kind of like where it's most interesting, because you're learning about the characters, the camaraderie, who likes who, and sort of like what's going to happen. You're kind of wondering what's going to happen, and it's like that jumping off point when the train crashes, and then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, where is this going to go now? And then it goes a kind of typical route from there to the end of the film, which I find is quite by the numbers.
Absolutely, yeah.
But, yeah. I love that the kid actors are quite good, all of them.
Yeah, I think they do really well.
Yeah, they do quite Ellie good. Fanning, Dakota Fanning's younger sister. This was probably the first film I saw her in, and she's bloody brilliant, and she's done awesome. I
saw her in Phoebe in Wonderland, and that was actually a really strong performance from her, and she was younger, and that was the first time I saw her. And for a jump-off performance, this was really, really powerful. There was like meaning behind the character, and there's a lot to it there, and that was a good starting point for her to be able to give a performance like that.
Yeah, what careers they've built, those two sisters. Like,
yeah,
they've done different stuff. They're not typically going for Hollywood blockbusters. Like, they weave in and weave out of Hollywood, and then they do indie films and whatnot, but they're always very strong in what their performances. Like from her being in Maleficent to Neon Demon, which is so different.
And I find her performances are usually very subtle, but yet there's still a lot of depth to them, I find, which is interesting, where it's almost like some characters' performances can be very in terms of facial features and stuff like that, it's all very over the top.
Yeah,
she's very quite subtle, and there's almost...
It's almost like they're not overacting.
Yeah.
They kind of just contain it and do very small things and get a lot across with those small actions.
Yeah.
And that's what good actors do. They know how to convey a lot of emotion through the most smallest...
Shown restraint.
Yeah. And
it's
that's
really good.
It's very masterful kind of acting techniques, I suppose. But yeah, this film... the alien design, what did you think of the alien design? That was finally revealed. So it's kind of you're kind of wondering what this thing's going to be and what's going on. I like the idea of the cubes. They have all these little cubes, the technology on the train and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's leading to stuff. Remind me of X-Files a bit as well, in Men in Black.
It's very X-Files style, it's
that vibe.
Melting pot of different film
and
ideas.
Sci-fi stuff, and obviously UFO, alien stuff.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get the reveal of the alien, and I was very kind of like, oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. So it looked like something just was in the background in Men in Black or something. Like, it's not even a strong design, in my opinion. Like, the E.T. for me, and E.T. or Close Encounters, or you look at any of those films from the past.
Well, we didn't see them till the very end, so at that stage I kind of was getting ready for it to wrap up anyway, so it wasn't too much of a issue for me, but I do understand it was
I wouldn't say it was a massive issue for me, but if it was something that was more memorable for me, I probably would have had a stronger lasting impression on me. But like I said, the first front of the film is where it's most strongest for me. Like, I could watch that and still wonder where that could go. You could almost end it at the halfway point, like a short film, and I would love that, instead of showing me the rest. Because it gets very kind of cliche, and then you got the relationships with the father, and you get all those kind of tropes that come in, and I'm a bit sick of all that, but that's me. I've seen a lot of stuff.
I was really impressed with all the kids' performances, and I guess it was able to show the industry that children, at this sort of age, we're looking at, early teens sort of age, that they can carry a film, which is a trend that we've seen
repeated a lot since.
It's almost like every film now is using a very similar trope.
Kind of,
Some of them work really well. Like It worked pretty well. And Stranger Things worked well. But we are starting to see this sort of approach
burning
now.
out a bit with it.
Yeah.
But also quickly, just throwing it in there, I love the idea how the filmmakers, they're trying to...
I guess that's, at least for us, that's what...
It's
just seeing the passion... And I personally can reflect. I remember back at those times. I mean, I'm not as I've never used a Super 8, but I've got my own memories with my own little DV little.
Well, you started off there, and I started off with the big shoulder VHS. Filming horror movies and in our backyard, wearing masks and fake blood, and rigging together costumes and stuff, but. Yeah, this film's got some great stuff in it. It's got some not so good stuff in it. It's a mixed bag, but I still give it probably like a 3 out of 5 sort of thing.
I think as a just to watch, I think it's perfect.
It's not going to harm anyone. It's not going to offend anyone.
Well-rounded, just good story,
family orientated,
good acting, good effects for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those films that you can just watch with the family, no worries.
Yeah. It's an in and out film. You watch it, you're done. Go on with your week or your day or your night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go to bed.
Yeah.
And have good dreams.
Yeah. Which, I mean, for most people, I recommend watching it. Don't go in expecting, the equivalent of Mozart kind of thing. High standards.
It ain't no E.T. Like, when you compare it to something that's lasted decades and it will continue to live on. That's such an iconic film, iconic character. Everything about that is lasted, whereas this is just a rehash of that. So it's just a carbon copy at the end of the day.
Love letter, really.
Not much more than that. But,
Anyway, we'll finish it there.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, ring that bell,
and comment.
Speak to us.
Dislike.
So what do you think of the film?
Yeah.
If you've seen it, if you haven't. Watch it, come back, tell us what you think.
Indeed.
Anyway, we'll finish it there. See you later.
Thanks for watching. Adios.